listening to Bleeding Page Podcast. Join authors Chad Lutsky and Jason Brandt as they delve into writing and publishing the dark side of fiction.
Welcome to episode 2. We have successfully made it past 1.
We have. It's time to celebrate.
When you start with Hunter Shea, it's
landmark
never a
episode
guarantee.
2. Yeah, we haven't been canceled, but then again, nobody's seen it, so
that's true. So we're going to have Armand on this week, but before we talk about that, which it was a really great interview, you have some exciting news.
I do. I have my new book, Cannibal Creator. This is the review copy for anybody who's watching on YouTube. But I'm proud of this cover because
I think it's your best cover.
Really?
I do.
Well, thank you. I made this myself, and it's made to look like a cannibal film from the 70s or 80s. And that's basically what it is. It's an homage, but with a twist. It's like a cannibal film from the 70s or 80s, Italian cannibal, but it's also nothing like it. So people who have been reading this have really been enjoying it. They've been calling it borderline extreme. I don't know if I'd go that far, but it is at least splatterpunk.
I mean, it's cannibal book. You have to expect something.
And I do go there in some spots, and it's different. But it's different than what I usually do. But people have been saying that it's also full of the same heartfelt crap I do, I guess, that I can't get away from.
That good old heartfelt crap.
Yeah. And then I started doing a read-along on January 1st for, by the way, that book is out in paperback back now, Cannibal Creator, on Amazon. And the pre-order for the Kindle is up now, and it will be released on January 14th. Don't ask why I screwed that all up. Just I tried to do a secret, quiet paperback release to get books out and then to reviewers before the actual release day. And I've tried doing this before. People start to see that it's up, and then next thing I know, everybody's sharing it, and it's like, well, okay. So that kind of got screwed up. So that's why it's got, and I think I'm having a giveaway for this apron, but by the time this episode airs, that will be over with. It's a goofy, kind of a silly cannibal themed apron. It's got the cover and apron.
It looks great.
Cover of it does look great quality, and so somebody's going to win it by the time you hear this episode. But I started a read along with Brad Proctor, who has a YouTube channel and does a author interview type show called Paper Cuts with his co-host, and he also does reviews a lot of horror. Avid reader, and he wanted to read Dracula, and I had never read Dracula before. Okay. And have you ever read Dracula before?
I have.
Okay. I was intimidated because while I love Poe, absolutely love Poe, I understand about every other sentence that I'm reading.
Right.
But he's one of my favorite authors. Same with Lovecraft. It's like you got to read a paragraph and you're like, okay, I think I know what's going on now. You know, Dracula is not like that. And I thought it was going to be. It feels almost modern.
Yes, it does.
Some of the letters get a little bit, in some of the spots where the dialogues, particularly some of the drunks that live by the sea there, get a little, they have strange vocabulary. But yeah, I was shocked, and I'm loving it. I'm only like 113, 14 pages in right now, but
how long is it? I don't remember. I don't remember it
like
being
400 some pages.
Is it that big? Wow.
Yeah. But I'm liking it way more than I thought I would, and I plan on tackling Frankenstein this year too, because I've never read that either. And I figure, these are some classics that I should probably at some point dive into. So, yeah, Dracula, man. It's going well. I'm glad that I finally got around to reading it, and that it's a simple read, really.
Yeah, it's been over 10 years, so that's why I couldn't remember it being that long. But I was in the same boat. I remember thinking it read way easier than I expected.
Yeah, for sure.
For a dummy like me, that's impressive. So, I don't have any book news. It's a perfect timing that we're doing this writing podcast. I'm not writing right now because I'm working on my YouTube channel solely, but I'm hoping within the next 4 weeks, I can get back into my writing business. But things have been going well with the YouTube channel. I'm getting a lot of subscribers and stuff, so I'm hoping it'll be a...
What's your YouTube channel, Jason?
It's Jason Brandt. It's very hard to find. I just watch bad movies on it. It has nothing to do with writing, so I'm not trying to send anybody there, but I'm trying to basically have parallel careers. So as one wanes, the other will hopefully do better. But it's a lot of work. Editing video is a lot of work.
Yes.
So that's pretty much all I've been working on. So I don't have any writing news at the moment, but hopefully soon. I'm looking to completely shake up my writing business. Maybe I go into KDP Select. Maybe I don't. Maybe I do free books. Maybe I don't. I don't know. I'm rethinking everything right now to try to for a big relaunch here. But before we talk about the interview, did you have a book you want to talk about, or was that Dracula?
Yeah, just Dracula. We were talking about last week how I might give my... I mean, I suppose that I could list very quickly my top reads that I had without going into any kind of detail, just a quick list of top reads that I read in 2021.
Okay.
Hardly any of these, if any at all, were released maybe a couple of them were released in 2021. But they just happened to be the ones that I read. I read The Secret Life of Bees. I don't know if you've read that before.
Did not read that.
By Sue Monk Kidd. Probably the best book of that I read all year.
Wow.
Definitely not horror. I think there's a movie. I haven't seen the movie. My wife read this book years ago and told me I should read it. I'm so glad I got around to it. I read a Ron Rash collection that actually John Bowden had sent me a year or two ago called Something Rich and Strange. Very good stuff. It's like a tamer Jack Ketchum and harsher Raymond Carver.
Okay.
I read my first David Joy book, Where All Light Tends to Go. That's in my top 10.
Right.
And I read more of him. Joe Lansdale, his publishers sent me a nice hard copy of Moon Lake before it came out. I was so excited that they got a hold of me, asked me if I wanted it. I was like, yeah.
Well, you're not a big Lansdale fan, so I'm surprised.
So I gobbled that up, and he doesn't reinvent the wheel or anything. It's just Lansdale. There are some very familiar tropes in here, Lansdale tropes in here. But if you're into him, if you're into like Hap and Leonard, it's like Hap and Leonard, but with a female kind of thing. It's not a Hap and Leonard book, but it feels like one. And there's the banter back and forth and between these people, and there's an investigation going on, and of course there's a dead body, there's a bridge, and there's water, and these are very familiar things that Joe likes to touch on. And I think that stems back to a real life experience he had where he saw a drowned body or something, and some kind of experience that he had with that.
Oh,
but so maybe he just it's cathartic for him to write about. I don't know. I read Josh Malerman's Pearl. Excellent book. That dude is he's got a scary mind, man. He's he's got a different mind.
I like how varied all his books are.
Me too, man.
One does not seem like the other.
Yeah, and I like that he's not afraid to experiment, even if it doesn't work for half the readers, you know?
Yep.
I read Richard Chismart's Chasing the Boogeyman. That's in my
Very
top
nice.
10. That was good. It's kind of like a documentary, crime fiction, but made to look like this really happened to him kind of thing. Comes with photos in the middle of the book, just like any other nonfiction crime book. It's pretty cool. Hunter Shea's Creature is in my top 10. I was surprised by the book. There's action in it, there's suspense in it, but the majority of it is like this kind of ongoing ailment drama, and it's not boring somehow. And
it's because it's basically his life,
right?
So he has a lot of experience, and he just nails that part of the book.
He really does. And it takes up like 2/3 of the book, but I was not bored with it. So
no.
Very good book. Hunter's a great writer. And Jack Ketchum's Off Season, finally read that. Jack's one of my favorite writers. That's one brutal book.
I haven't read that one. I need to.
In the Scrape by James Newman and Mark Steensland. Incredible book. It's feels like almost like a David Joy kind of thing, like a Appalachian crime noir type deal. Awesome book. And then I read, I was asked to blurb Eric LaRocca's The Strange Thing We Become. It's a collection of short stories. And he is great. He just put out the, what's the name of that book that everybody and their mother bought last year? The Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke.
Yeah.
He's a great writer. The problem I had with that book was his gorgeous prose and it's not like poetic to the point where it's like pretentious. It's just really, really well done. But he tries to throw that in like email formats and stuff. And for me personally, it didn't work. And but these stories in this book are some of there's one or two in here. There's some of the best short stories I've ever read. So I gladly gave a blurb for that. And if you are one of the people who did not like Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke, you have got to check out something that like this, where he really shines, where you don't have that, that email IM exchange, turning into, if you didn't dig that, keep, give him another shot and read something else, because he's a great writer. So yeah, those are in my top 10.
I'm not going to do a top 10, but I just wanted to shout out one author in particular who I read almost everything he published this year, and that was Grady Hendrix. I want to say I started with My Best Friend's Exorcism, and I was like, damn, this dude can write. Like, this is just the way his prose and everything, it just flows for me. And I can just get sucked in and just pound away a couple chapters. And I read very slowly. So for me to read several books of one author in succession is very rare. But I think I read that. I read Horror Store. I read Final Girl Support Group and The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires.
That sounds great, man. The premise for that just sounds great.
That's my favorite book of his.
Yeah.
It is so good. I had my wife read it, and she reads very slow. She actually reads very quickly, but she falls asleep after 2 minutes of reading. She crushed that book in no time. So if you haven't read Grady Hendrix yet, I would strongly recommend everybody check him out. The guy's just at the top of the genre right now. He's killing it.
Yeah, for sure. I've only read the My Best Friend's Exorcism. It's like a weird, you think it's going to be like this, almost like after school teeny bopper girl special, and it goes much darker than
it's very dark
than you think.
And he's got the naming conventions down. Like his titles, as soon as you hear the title, like that's got to be a Grady Hendrix book.
Yeah.
So he knows what he's done. So the Armand interview I thought was much different than I expected it to go, or went much differently than I expected it to go. We kind of get into the horror community for a while and the pros and cons of that, and the pros and cons of writing horror versus thrillers, and a bunch of other stuff that we had not planned. And I found it to be the most interesting stuff in the interview.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was a great interview. And, at the beginning of when we started doing this, my hope anyway was for people who, not only want to listen because they're interested in the guests that we have, but that maybe they are writers themselves too, and could find encouragement from stuff that we talk about. Because that's one of the reasons why I listen to writing podcasts. I like to get encouraged. I like to learn new things about what works and what doesn't work. And so there's a lot of that stuffed into the 45 minutes that we speak with Armand.
Absolutely. A lot of good advice in here. And, if you're frustrated with where things are on Twitter and stuff, you'll find out in this interview, you're not alone. People are crazy everywhere, and everybody's sick of it. So I thought it went really well. And he's a funny guy. We've both known him for a while now, and the guy never ceases to entertain.
Yeah. And for those who don't know who Armand is, Armand Rosamilia is the author of the Dying Days series, the Dirty Deeds series, and several standalone novels, as well as some nonfiction that he's released. He also has a brand new First Coast thriller series that's coming out starting this month, and then another book in February, and then March. Outside of writing, he is a podcaster with the Mondo Method podcast with his co-host Chuck Buda, where they discuss writing and publishing, a lot of the same kind of stuff that we're going to be doing too, except for they don't usually have guests.
Right.
And that's it.
And it's those two knuckleheads, but it's a great podcast.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, it is. I enjoy it.
So yeah, Armand's great, and I think everybody liked the interview.
Get a lot written today?
Yes.
All right, Armand, I feel like every time I talk to you, the first question I want to ask is, how many books do you have now?
I think so. I think I counted it up recently. Somebody had asked me that. I think I have 225 releases, if you count novels, novellas, and anthologies that I've been in. And then like stuff like Godless and things like that.
Nice.
That's insane. That's a lot of work.
I had
That's a nice trophy shelf.
13 releases last year. See, behind me, this top shelf here, and then this shelf here, and then on the other side, the top shelf, and those are all my print releases that I've done. And then this is my tool shed, which is my only hardcover. That was the Thunderstorm press one. And then this is me that Jay Wilburn's wife made of me.
That's awesome.
I think it looks. Jay's like, don't put the gray in. I'm like, why? You need the gray in, so it looks. I like it. So
that's a nice gift.
That's what is behind me. That was my Christmas gift last year from her.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
225. So 13 releases last year. How many were self-published? How many were with small presses? Or
six from presses, or 5 from presses, and the rest were self-published.
Okay. Why that? Why did you go 5 one way and the rest of them?
I like being a hybrid. So I like there's certain series that I put out that I control, like Dirty Deeds. That series I control the whole thing. And going forward, anything I put out in thrillers, like I have the First Coast Thriller series coming out January 15th, February 15th, March 15th is the first 3 books. And then the last 3 books of the series will be out in 2022. So those I'll control. The last 2 Dirty Deeds books will come out 11 and 12 this year. So I'll release all those. Everything else will come out by publishers. So I have a book that should come out from Hellbound Press this year, Hellbound Books. I owe 6 more books to Severed Press. So at least 3 or 4 of those will come out this year. Another couple of books, and then anthologies. And then I got a bunch of stories. I think 6 or 7 books, 6 or 7 anthology stories that should hopefully come out this year.
Do you have books published by small presses that you are like, man, I really wish I would have self-pubbed that?
You know,
I'm sure you do.
There's a couple that I wish I had not worked with a certain company.
Yeah.
Because you realize, instead of making $2 on a sale, I'm making less than $1, and I'm selling not a lot of books.
And they're not doing anything for you.
No, they're not doing anything that I couldn't have done. And pretty much whenever I tweet the book out is when the sales go up.
Yeah.
So they're not doing anything. And there's like 3 or 4 of those. And then those royalty statements are like 79 cents for a quarter. I get like $1 every 3 months. So I think, I probably could have done it myself, but then it's also paying for an editor, paying for a cover, the formatting, all the other stuff. And
yeah, I get that.
I kind of hope, it's kind of that thing, Chad, where I hope that those books, the 1 or 2 that I've sold, has led to that person finding me for 224 other books.
Yeah.
And has spent a couple $100 on me. The other way. I kind of look at it that way. Same thing with anthologies. I might make $10 or $25 or whatever it is, but I'm hoping that sale, somebody reading that story will go and find some of my other stuff.
Yeah, and then you got a huge back catalog. Yep.
Right.
What of your income, do you have any kind of idea of, do you make more money from publishers, publishing yourself? Which one's more lucrative for you?
I think definitely the self-publishing is definitely more lucrative, especially once I got into the crime thriller series. So my 2 biggest series by far is probably about half of my income. And you're talking 220 something books.
Sure.
And the
You're talking about Dirty Deeds, right?
yeah, 10 books on Dirty Deeds. Dirty Deeds 10 was released in December, and that 10-book series, and then my 9-book Dying Day Zombie series, which is done, and it's been done for several years. Those 2 books make up about 50% of my Amazon revenue.
Wow.
With page reads and sales. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. And this new series, which is the thriller series, I've already gotten more pre-orders on it than I have on any other book, and I still have about a week to go of getting pre-orders on it.
Can you tell if those are pre-orders just from your existing readership, or have you done something else that's going toward a audience that you wasn't aware of you at the time?
I've been doing a big push. I'm trying to figure out how to say this nicely. I'm trying to get away from the horror community.
Yeah.
Okay. The drama, the negative, this let's be honest, this ceiling that you have when you put out a book.
Yeah.
If I put out a horror book, I can kind of figure out, okay, I'm going to hit this plateau in sales. Yeah. And it might jump up a little. I might get some new readers, but you know where you are after 30 years in this business. You kind of know.
Yeah.
And this is like where it is here, except for the Dying Day series. Everything else is like here, and then Dirty Deeds is like here. So it's like 2.5 times the opening day sales I know I'm going to get. So I'm really working hard to do the pre-orders, and especially with this new series, I'm doing a lot of Amazon ads already. I'm doing BookBub, the ads. I'm doing Facebook ads. I'm doing a ton of different tweets. And then all of those other things that you can do, new releases or pre-order. And so my budget is like $500 a month just on advertising. And I've swung all of it now this month into just the new book. And for me, that's kind of, that's where I'm going. Most of my interviews, most of anything I'm putting out is geared more towards the thriller stuff. I even revamped my website now, so it's not so horror and dark and,
So I did have a question about that, but I wanted to ask you about your series and why you chose to do that. But you said that you wanted to get away from the horror, and despite, there's, I mean, let's face it, there's a ton of great people in the horror community.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's just like this. It's also this kind of like depressing gymnasium full of people that you can't get away from it. And like you said, the drama and just the constant opinions that nobody asked for. And so that was a catalyst for some of this, but I'm also wondering if you were influenced by our buddy Dan Padavona and the
100%
crazy stuff that he's done.
I'm literally doing the Dan Padavona Amazon ads. I mean, I'm doing it exactly like he does, and I pick his brain all the time. And I put out Dirty Deeds, and knowing I wanted to get into crime, and that came out in 2016. So it's been about 5 years. I've been kind of in both places. And same with Dan. Dan's kind of danced between the two. Yeah. And I loved what he was doing. I loved what he was doing with Scarlet Bell character and all that. And it's funny because his stuff, he's still talking about serial killers. He's just he's not writing about this completely about the serial killer and the victims. He's now writing about the serial killer and the FBI going after the serial killer, which is great. So it's he's still writing the same stuff, which I always loved. I always loved everything from Dan. So I think that was, for me, that was a big part of it. And to realize that he was doing so well with it. And then once Dirty Deeds took off and started doing really well, I was like, you know what? I want to do more. I want to do more of that. Like, I love horror. I love writing horror. Yeah. I love reading horror books. That's never going to go away. But the day-to-day of, wading through the BS of the horror community and the people who don't respect it and come in, are coming in over the last couple of years. Not all of them, obviously, but there's that vocal minority of jerks that are coming in and tearing everybody else down and thinking that's the way, that's the way this works. And it's depressing after doing this for so many years. I mean, 32 years now, I've been writing and publishing stories and, this will be my 12th year as a full-time author.
Mhm.
And nowhere at no other point have I ever thought, man, I'm embarrassed to say I'm a horror writer sometimes. And that's a really crappy feeling to have, because it feels like there's still that big group of us, you guys obviously included. There's so many really great horror writers that stay away from all the garbage, and that we've all paid our dues, and we're helping each other, and we're doing all that. But then it just gets sideswiped. Every couple of months there's some new big drama. There's some new person who's either a complete jerk and deserves to be torn down, but then it never ends. The drama goes for weeks and months of still beating on this person. I mean, that person's gone. Let's not talk about that. You got rid of them. You did your job. That guy's never going to make another dime in the horror community. But let's not keep talking about him on and on and on. I came in here because I like the guys that come in and write really good horror stuff and stay away from the drama. And like the guys who drink a lot, like Hunter Shea. I mean, that's a guy who just kind of keeps to himself, and it's amazing to do anything with him, because he's always going to get drunk and have a great time, or dress up like Bigfoot or something. So,
What? You describing him, or are you describing me right now?
Yeah, you sound like you're talking about Jason.
I mean, you're lumped in there as well.
I was. I don't know if you saw. I was in his Bigfoot costume. It scares quite a bit.
Yeah.
It was,
well, he was at the when we went to Angry Eric's and we did Beers and Fears. He was in it.
He should not have worn that after me. I sweated all through that thing.
Well, you know what? Whoever else puts that thing on, you're probably going to pass out, because he was in it for a while, and it was pretty darn. We were outside and it was hot, and he was in it for like an hour.
Brutal. The thing sucks.
So
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Are you networking? Are you kind of like mingling with other people that are doing thrillers now, or are you just?
Yeah, I'm not going to any of the horror conventions or anything this year.
You're not going to Scares again?
Nope, not going.
Damn it! You're killing me.
I'm going to go to NINC, which is the thrillers one down here in Florida. I'll do that in September, and I'm in all those I'll probably do Thriller Fest in New York coming up this year. So I'm going to do a lot more of those, and then a lot more different signings. But I've kind of again distanced myself from that horror community.
So you're switching tables at the cafeteria then altogether.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is this year I should still have 3 or 4 horror books that come out. I wrote a novel called Stripper Noir with Erin Lewis, who was a former stripper, and the two of us wrote a book together, and that should be out this year by Hellbound Books. And I have another couple of things horror related that should come out. And I'm always writing horror stories. I mean, like Chad, you've been on my Twitch a bunch of times. I'm writing horror stories on there all the time. So I'll never stop. I just don't think I'm gonna push the horror as far as the promoting and everything else, because I know, again, I have that plateau. I know I hit it, whether I run ads or not on it. I know that I put a book out and I get that crowd that jumps on it, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of new readers for me who are coming in and reading that backlist, which sucks.
I think it's easy to see this already, but I think that there's going to be influx anyway with horror writers dipping into crime anyway, with the success of like Chasing the Boogeyman and the Razorblade, whatever. I can't remember the name of it. You guys know what I'm talking about. The really popular one. Yeah. And there's been a lot of that this year, and then with Stygian Sky Media doing some of their stuff, and Christopher Triana doing some crime. I mean, I'm not that familiar with him. I did read his new one through Stygian Sky. It was good, but I see a lot more of that happening, and people discovering more authors that have been around doing that for a while, like David Joy and people like that, and really enjoying it. It's just part of that.
It's an easy step too. I've always read thrillers.
It is an easy step. It's adjacent, so yeah.
And there's a lot of there's a lot of those elements where I read a lot of crime thriller anthologies, and you're reading these stories, and you're like, that could be in any Crystal Lake anthology.
Yeah.
You know, it's a horror story. I mean, it literally is a horror. It's not a supernatural. There's no monster, but the people are the monsters. You know,
Right.
and there's a lot of that, and so I'm like, it's not that big of a step. And I think if I came on and said, "Hey guys, I'm writing romance from now on," you'd look at me like I had two heads. But crime thrillers and thrillers is really not that far off from what I've been doing anyway. You know, most of my stuff is the people are the monsters. It's like I for me, I think if Jack Ketchum was still with us, I would imagine, because he was stepping in that direction. I would imagine at some point we would have had, here's the next book by Jack Ketchum, the crime thriller, you know, kind of thing. And I think it works. I think it's and it's fun. It's not something I'm like, oh, I'm over here to chase money. If I was going to do that, I'd start writing romances. I've always written that stuff. I like that stuff. I've put out some short stories and different things. So yeah, it's just fun.
No, first of all, I completely agree about stepping away from the horror community. I'm basically not on social media at this point, because every time I log in, I'm like, Jesus Christ, what are we fighting about now? Who are we mad about?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't care about any of this. So I just am not in it at all anymore. So I totally agree about that. And when it comes to the thriller thing, most of my horror stuff is written with thriller pacing, and that sells significantly better.
Right.
So I really feel like the two genres are, you know, you can have one foot in each in the same book, no problem. And that's typically what I do.
It's how you're marketing the book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's look at Stephen King, look at Dean Koontz, especially Dean Koontz. You know, all of his stuff that was thriller and adventure stuff in the 70s, he was using pen names because the publisher only wanted him to write horror. And then once he got huge in the 80s, he took all those books and he re-released them under his name. And anything he's doing now is I mean, he's writing thriller books. You know, his Nameless series is amazing, and those short stories are 100%, you know, a thriller pacing and everything else.
That's interesting. I did not know that you were making that shift, but hopefully it brings you a lot of money.
It wasn't a lot. It wasn't one of those, hey, F you horror community kind of thing. It's just people know, people I've talked to Chad before, people who I value their opinion, who I'm not afraid to talk to. I let them know, hey, this is the direction that I'm going, you know, in my career. And not that it's anybody's business what I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's not.
So because you're making the shift, are you going to also write mostly in series now, or are you going to still do significant amount of standalones?
Thrillers are primarily series, so it's building the characters. So Dirty Deeds, I have 2 more books and it'll end at 12. But then this new thriller series will have 6 books and it is in the same world. So there's some cameos in the 2. And then this one's the first book is called Shakedown, and then there's Throwdown, Man Down. So that's the 6 titles. And then the next series will be a combination, a main character from each, and that will be another 6-book series next year called Down and Dirty, which will put both of those together. And that's kind of how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the Dan Padavona, try to figure out how many books we're going. I don't want to do 25 books, 30 books in a series. I would rather do 5 6-book series to get to my 30, but have that overarching plot line, and then mix and match on the characters and stuff. So, and I work with a lot of other authors promoting and stuff. There's a group called Tropical Authors, which Nick Sullivan is and Wayne Stinnett and guys like that are running, and they're all, you know, sea stories, guys with guns on boats and that kind of thing. So I'm not there. I'm not military or any of that stuff, but a lot of those guys do that. But those readers will also read my stuff, which is great. So I've picked up a lot of those as well. So for me to network with those guys and to go to a convention and to sit with, you know, I mean, the big guys are still going. Michael Connolly is still going to these. Harlan Coben still going to these events, and they're sitting at the bar and having a drink with everybody and talking. And you don't really get that in the horror community anymore. I mean, Jonathan Maybury, it comes around. Brian Keane comes around, but a lot of the bigger names, you're not going to find Dean Koontz or Stephen King wandering in to a hotel lobby bar to hang out with other authors. And in thrillers, you still get that. I'm doing an event in next month, and David Baldacci, who's who has sold like millions of books, and he's the guest speaker. But the last time he was there at this event, I actually had lunch, just sat and had lunch with him. So they're reachable people. They're still excited. And again, there's not all the drama. There's not all the pointing fingers, because these people are selling, literally making millions of dollars a year selling these books. So what are we fighting for? Horror community, we're fighting over scraps. Yeah. Everybody's trying to tear the other person down so they can make $10,000 this year.
You're not wrong. It's a hard genre to make money in.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of people who do it full time.
That leads me I have a question for both of you guys, because I don't have a series. I mean, I got the Neon Owl. I have one book in that series.
And you need to write a lot. You need to write more, because I really like that book.
Thank you very much. I am like maybe a third of the way through the second one, and then I've got the vampire thing, it was a sellout thing, and I might not even go back to it, and I put it under C.E. Lutsky instead of Chad Lutsky, and that was supposed to be a series. But as I was writing it, I have such a hard time writing stuff that I know is just, this is to try to make money. But I'm not against it, especially if I know I'm going to, I'm not against, if I can figure out the formula, I'm not entirely against doing something like romance under a pseudonym. I'm just not. I don't care. I actually like romance, like movies like The Notebook. I love that movie. So I've never written it, but my question for you guys is, I've got all these, I just put out, I think, my 16th book, which includes a couple short story collections. I think by the end of this year, I'll have had 20 books out. Now, do you think that it's possible to continue doing stuff like that? Just, as long as you're continually putting a lot of books out every year, putting out maybe 4 or 5 novellas that are completely standalones. Of course, you're not going to make enough money as you would in a series, but do you think that you would be able to, I don't know, do it like that? I mean, ultimately, I just want to be able to have this as a career where I'm not so worried about making ends meet, and things are much more comfortable with strictly writing. And I go back and forth all the time. I'm like, well, I could do this series thing and spend all my time and energy, and the writing would take me 2, 3, 4 times as long to do, or I could just do the stuff that I love and just put out as many as I possibly can, and then hopefully make up for. But then, like you said, Armand, there's a ceiling there,
right? And I think that's the problem. See, people, you have a fan base. People love the stuff that you write. It's very raw. It's emotional. I mean, obviously, my wife loves your stuff. I love your stuff, and I would never want you to just go, oh, I'm going to write 5 books about this character, and then by book 4 or 5, you're kind of struggling to figure out what the hell to do next with this story or this character. I mean, how many times can you kind of beat that dead horse of a character and their emotions? You know what I mean? At some point, the reader, or whether it's TV, whatever, they're like, all right, enough already. Like when I used to watch.
Are you trying to say that every single book I put out has to have some emotional deep?
Well, there's some deep emotional characters. You're invested from by the second chapter in your character in your book, you're like, oh my God, I don't want anything bad to happen to this character, and it's a Chad Lutsky book, so something horrible is about to happen to this poor bastard. It's kind of like watching The Walking Dead, and I only watched like half of them. I got so bored with the soap opera, but it's like, oh my God, please, Rick Grimes, stop crying all the time. Stop being so damn emotional.
Yeah.
So you don't want that. You don't want you don't want Slow Burn on Riverside, all the emotion and the stuff he's going through. God, you don't want that in book 4 and 5 of a series. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's got to be something that moves this along without just the emotion, and you're able to capture it in that novella format. And I think that's really what works works great for you. Not saying don't ever do a series, but write what you want, man. I mean, you got a million ideas. Keep writing them. I mean, I could be wrong, Jason. You're going to tell me I'm wrong. Go ahead.
No, I think you can make a living doing that. I think it's a lot harder, and you have to hope one of those books really catches on somehow, like, gets a push from an algorithm in one of the stores.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to market shorter single books. It just is. I have a 6-book series. I market one book and I get sales on the next 5.
That's
it's just
true.
It's just easier that way.
Yeah.
Can you make a living that way? Yeah. Is your ceiling going to be lower? Yeah. But I mean, all you have to do is look at Josh Mallerman, but hoping you get a bird box.
We're talking about a lottery
tough.
Winner here, though.
Exactly. It's
right.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Not to say there's not talent behind it, because he's a great writer.
There's
totally.
a lot of luck in this. I mean, we've all written that great book that sold like crap. Yeah. And we've all written that crappy book that is probably one of our best sellers. You don't know what people like. You don't know what people want. There's no secret magic formula to any of this, or we would all be millionaires. We would all be writing those great books. Talent sustains a career. So talent, guys who've written really crappy books but have figured out Amazon ads and stuff are making what the three of us are making combined 10 times over. But they're not in this for 10 years or 15 years, because the reader starts to go, these books aren't really that good. We got that big push. Whereas if you're writing a great book, if you're writing a book like Bird Box that does go through the roof, and people are buying his older stuff and his newer stuff because he's a great writer, so it really helps there. But there's also that luck. There's also a lot of that luck and stuff involved in there too. And it's like writing a hit song, man. You don't know what's going to be a hit or what's not. It's just you pour it out. But I think as long as we're being true to ourselves. And I think that's like the important thing. We're writing a book that we want to read, and we're given a story that we want to have out there. I think the readers can tell. The readers will stick with you. The readers will enjoy that. If you all of a sudden, Chad, you went, oh, my next book is going to be a 90,000 word space opera, people will be like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? It might be the book that you want to write, but that's a whole different fan base. That's not the brand of Chad Lutsky. And I think what really works for you is that novella, is the emotion you put into those books. Because I got to tell you, the first couple books I read by you, I was like, before I even knew you, I was like, this dude is broken. Like reading your stuff, I'm like, this dude is his parents locked this kid in a closet until he was like 12. Oh my God,
And then you talked to him and it was confirmed. And
I was like, he was 14 when they let him out. That does make sense. Yeah. But I mean, I would say write what you think you want to write. Don't worry about the numbers and all the other stuff. Because I think it comes. I mean, again, all three of us have a different magical number of sales or money that we think we've made it. You know what I mean? We each look and I go, my wife has a great career. My wife makes a ton of money. I mean, if I made nothing for the rest of my life, we're still doing the trips. We're still buying 500 Funko Pops. We're still doing all this. So the pressure is on me to make money. It's never on her. She never says to me, hey, I need $500 this month, or I need $1,000, or I need $10,000 this month. For me, that's great. That's a great feeling that I'm still fighting through. But both of you, depending on kids and your situations and everything else, you might go, oh my God, I need to make $200,000 or I'm not going to be able to live. Or you might do like Jay Wilburn, who probably lives on $10 a day. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. It's like whatever you think is your comfort level, wherever you want to be. Yeah. And I think if we're striving for that, anything above that is just a bonus at this point. And honestly, for me, if I sell one book today, it's a bonus.
That's a good place to be in. I mean, it makes life easier.
It does. I'm harder on myself than she'll ever be on me. She's the one who said spend $500 a month on advertising.
my wife and I are both not. We're not big on. We're not materialistic, and we don't have. We have debt. We bought a house and had it for 13 years and walked away from it, and we just didn't want the debt anymore. We don't have car payment. We own our vehicles. So, but we're not. If I was making like 30 grand a year, I would be really happy with that. And that's not very much money.
Right.
Now, if she wasn't working too, then I would like to make, a little bit more than that. But that's all, to our third kid will be out of the house in a couple of years, and the other ones are already gone. So, our expenses we just don't need a lot.
Right.
We're not like that. So yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. I think if you're, you really got to look at this, and everybody's different. That's what makes writing so great, is we're all, the way we write, the way we think, the way we do all this is so different. But you have to look and go, why am I writing? Am I writing just to write? And then if I sell some books, I'm happy? Or do I need to make 30 grand a year or whatever? Or do I want the fame? Do I want the legacy? Like, what, really, what is the priority for you? Where is that? And I think that's the thing that you go after. That's the thing you reach. It's not the money for me. And I think for me, it's the ego. It's the wanting people to know who the heck I am. I mean,
I've heard you say that before, and I do share that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, that's the honest thing. I mean, we're going to a lawyer in a couple of weeks to get our stuff. And one of the thing is the, my IP, my all my writing, all of this stuff, where does it go when I die? Does it, obviously I'm obviously going before my wife because I'm so obese and disgusting, but then you look at our kids and you kind of go down the line. Where does this go? If I die tomorrow, does anybody pick up all these unfinished stories and write them, or does it just go away? You know what I mean? So there's all those types of things that we're, as writers, as we get older, you start to think about, and I think that's kind of I'm kind of at that point of 52, and I'm kind of that point where, what's the legacy right now? If they wrote my obituary tomorrow, are they going to mention Dirty Deeds? Are they going to mention Dying Days? Are they going to mention, hey, he was just a writer? You know what I mean? And you think of guys like the guys that are there, the Brian Keens and the Joe Lansdales and the Mayberries and all those guys, Hunter Shea, all those guys that are these huge names out there. I had to throw Hunter in case he ever actually is drunk watching this. So I look at it and I go, they have those books. You know what I mean? Josh Mallory, when Josh goes, that first line is going to be Bird Box. You know what I mean? That's your legacy, whether you like it or not. And some people might not like that. Some people might, you look at music. You look at Janie Lane when he died. He hated Cherry Pie. But when he died, that was the first line in his obituary, which he said, that's going to be the first thing they're going to talk about. And I hate that because I hate that song, even though it made him millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. So you look at that and you go, what are people going to talk about when I'm gone? I think is kind of the thing. Jason, they're going to talk about your wife. That's pretty much all they're going to talk about.
That's all anybody talks about.
Yeah.
That's not a joke either. No, I'm more about, this is a job. I want to make money and I want to make a comfortable life for my wife. I don't seek recognition from my peers at all, really. I don't know why. That's just something I've never given a shit about. I think that might also be a part of why I don't pursue publishers, things like that. It just doesn't appeal to me. I always say in every podcast interview I do about this stuff, I say, if it makes dollars, it makes sense. And that's just the exact way I look at it. So I'm like completely inverted from you. It's kind of interesting.
And I would rather be you than me in that respect. I would rather not. And it's never, I'm never jealous. Like somebody wins something or, oh, so-and-so is going to be the guest speaker at this event or whatever. I'm happy for them. I'm sad for me because, well, I've been in this for 30 years. I want to be invited to these. I want the hotel room and all this other stuff. Why is not necessarily why is that guy getting it, but just in general, why am I not getting it? Why am I
Sure.
not being invited? Why am I not winning a Stoker Award? And I mean, we can go into that. I know why I'm not winning a Stoker Award, but
No, I get it.
Anyway,
I should add though, I do want recognition from my readers. That I
Right.
do crave tremendously.
Yeah.
It's just from my peers. It's just something I don't know.
I don't know
if
if I necessarily want it from my peers as much as I think from the overarching community. Not those individuals, you know what I mean? But just like I want to feel like I'm important. I want to feel like I'm that guy. And again, right, I want to be able to go somewhere and people want to talk to me. People recognize me. I like that. I like the ego part of that. I love talking about myself.
It's weird because I have like I said, I have the ego bit too, but at the same time, it also makes me very uncomfortable. So if somebody's like gushing, or if I say, hey, thanks for sharing this, and someone's like, oh my gosh, you replied, I'm having a fangirl moment. That makes me really uncomfortable.
That was Jason, right? That was Jason.
Yeah.
Always.
Yes.
Always.
But so it's like I have kind of like this strange mixture of both, because I'm just doing something that I tried to learn how to do, and I'm doing it just like anybody can, with whatever craft that they want to do. And we're all, I don't, that like Hollywood and all that kind of stuff, and people holding people up higher, and I just don't, I can't get behind any of that. So if I'm feeling any kind of like microscopic bit of that, it does make me feel uncomfortable, but it's encouraging, I guess is the word, to continue.
Yeah. I get a big head a lot. I get the ego a lot, and then my wife will literally say, "Oh, that's really awesome. That's a great email," or you got a movie deal, whatever. And then she said, "Did you do the dishes today?" Oh, that's great.
Knocks you right down.
Can you go fold the laundry so I can have clothes to go to my real job tomorrow, kind of thing. And I love that about her, because she's happy for me, but she knows I'm having that ego moment, and I'm not having that ego moment in the house. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm still doing the dishes. I'm still folding the laundry today. There's still things that I have to do in the house. So, which is great.
My wife does the same. She just said something to me the other day. She's like, "Oh, you like being recognized, don't you?" And I was like, I guess I do. Like, damn it. Just really made me feel like an asshole right there. It was like a good moment, and just took it away from me.
Well, I think though what it is too is I mean, it's good to have ego as long as you're not a jerk about it. You know what I mean? As long as you're not, because I've seen a lot of guys, and we can share stories, I'm sure, of the guys that you go, wow, 2, 3, 5 years ago, they were really giving and helping and everything else. And now they're just, they were nominated for a Stoker. They didn't even win the damn thing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the guy's just a total jerk to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of those people, unfortunately, that we're seeing out there. And I never want to be that guy. I never want to be a jerk. I always want to be able to, no matter what it is, 2 people today called me that I talk to every now and then. They called and they asked questions about podcasting, or they asked questions about writing and stuff. And I never want to be that guy who's like, oh, I'm busy. I can't talk to you right now. I'm too busy counting my money or something. I'm always going to pick up the phone. I'm always going to talk to anybody you have any kind of question about, whether it's Twitch or podcasting or writing, whatever it is. I want to help. I want to help out, because people helped me out before, and I never forgot that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important. And I think anytime you have success, particularly if you have it early, it's a hard balancing act to keep your head from blowing up and thinking you're a bigger deal than you are.
Yeah.
And definitely some people succumb to that. Before we hit the final stretch here, I had a couple other questions I wanted to hit you with. You used to do a lot of signings. It seems like you've really pulled that back. Are you going to ramp that up again at some point, or?
I have. So I'm doing more local Florida stuff. So there's what's it called? Sunshine State Book Fair in Gainesville. I'll do that in a couple weeks, and it's just a one-day event. And then I'll do Amelia Island. It's their 20th year. They've done that event, so I'll do that again. It's just a Saturday. so I like doing those events, and then I will be back up in Jersey probably into September when the Collinswood Book Fair happens, and then we'll probably do Angry Eric Brewing again. We'll do or Spellbound. We'll do like one Beers and Fears event again next year because it worked well this year. We'll spend a few days up in Jersey again to see everybody, and then that's about it. I mean, I'll do, like I said, NINC. I'll do that. I think it's a Wednesday or Thursday through Monday. It's all thriller authors. And so I'll do that event. But that's probably about it. I mean, I'm not going to do scares this year. I've been invited to another couple of horror ones. And I just don't feel it. I mean,
that's a shame about scares, man. I always enjoy that place.
I loved it. I mean, I had missed the first one, was the only one that I hadn't gone. And then I've missed the last couple. And I don't know. I just, last year, to be completely honest and just sound like a total dick, I was glad I didn't go because when I heard some of the people that were there, I didn't want to hang out with them. I didn't want to be. I'm not the kind of person that's going to be fake. If I don't like you, I don't like you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to sit and chit chat with you and do. I mean, I'm not going to be a jerk to you, but I'm not going to sit and eat breakfast or lunch with you either. You know what I mean? There's more than enough people that I want to hang out with. I'm going to get away from. And it seemed like there was a lot of those people there this year.
You're talking about John Bowden, aren't you?
I love John. I absolutely love John. Did you ever hear the John Bowden when me and my wife busted his balls at Scares one year? So he always wears his band shirts. And he was wearing a Junkyard shirt. I'm a huge Junkyard fan. So we were talking Junkyard. And actually, John bought me a Junkyard sticker. And he's walking around and he's wearing a Wargasm shirt. And not many people know who the hell Wargasm is. And as he's walking, I'm behind my table and I say to Shelly, I say, oh my God, tell him you love Wargasm. Tell him that's your favorite band. So as he walks up, Shelly's like, oh my God, is that a Wargasm shirt? I love them. Oh my God, that's so great. And he was all excited for about 4 or 5 seconds, like big smile on his face. He's like, really? And then he was like, you're screwing with me, right? And then we started laughing. And then weeks later, he posts a Wargasm song on Facebook. And one of his buddies had, a bunch of people had said, oh, I love that song, whatever. And Shelly jumped on and said, oh, that's my favorite band. And a bunch of people started liking it. And John comments, he's like, don't like this. She's just busting balls. Don't like this at all. And I thought that was hysterical. In fact, I told her, I said, if we had gone back, because that was when they had canceled Scares the next year for COVID. I said, if they had done it, I would have bought you a Wargasm shirt so you could wear the shirt in front of him. How cool would that have been?
Running joke, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a shame not seeing her. I mean, you, whatever, but
I get it. No, I 100%. A lot of people are like, "Oh, you're not coming," and they're like, "Shelly's not coming." Like they were all upset. So
yeah, it's kind of bullshit.
I get it. Well, maybe you'll come out to one of our signings.
Maybe in Jersey. Maybe I'll come out. Yeah. It depends on where you are. I mean, some of Jersey is not too far from me. Some of it's like 3 hours away, 4 hours away. So
still worth seeing us.
I mean, if Tim's going to be there, if Tim Myers,
Tim's always there, Tim. Well, I don't do those events without Tim. We need somebody pretty there.
Yeah, I definitely won't be there then. Little runt. I wanted to ask you about your podcasting too, because you obviously have this empire you've built over at Project Entertainment Network. Do you get any kind of bump in sales from when you podcast? Have you noticed like it's kind of created a fan base for you, or are they just completely two separate entities?
I think there's a little bump there. So I stopped doing Armcast last year after 400 episodes and like 7 years, almost to the day. And where I love doing it, but there's, as you guys know, there's so much work. It's not just sitting and chatting with somebody for an hour. It's all the setups, it's all the editing, it's all the other things. So I was losing a lot of time because I was doing so many different podcasts. So I stopped doing that. I was doing a baseball one. I was doing interviews on a baseball podcast. I was helping them start it up. And I dropped out of that after about a year, once I knew they were doing what they needed to do. And then I helped my wife with Lunch Ladies Book Club. I do all the editing and all that stuff. So it was a lot of work. So I just decided, you know what? Me and Chuck are going to continue to do the Mondo Method podcast. So we've continued on that one, and I think I see a little bit of a bump. I mean, I definitely see people who will send me messages and say, "Hey, I heard you on the Mondo Method podcast, and you were talking about whatever book," and I went out and I bought the book.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that definitely helps. I know Chuck has had sales direct from that as we get new listeners that have come in. So I mean, is it a ton? Does it probably pay the bill? Probably not. It's probably still costs us more to do it, but I love doing it. I love sitting, every other Monday, me and Chuck, we sit for a couple hours, and we're usually drinking bourbon, and we're usually, talking a lot of dumb stuff and catching up on our couple of weeks there and stuff. So for me, it's also the fun of it, of doing them as well. But if you said, "Oh, is this helping you with the sales?" Probably not.
Yep, that's been my experience too. I was just curious if you noticed anything, because you had so many, but not really.
Yeah, not really. I mean, and again, I have I'm blessed because Armcast had a ton of listeners every week, and Armcast, man, we're building this up to pretty really solid numbers now. But it's not like, oh, every 100 or every 1,000 listeners we're getting a sale. There's none of that.
Now, which one? I thought you said Armcast.
Well, the Mondo Method now.
Oh,
He did,
okay.
yeah, he did.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Do you have anything else, Chad?
No,
For the
I
final two?
listen to, just to say I love Mondo Method, and I listen to it every week.
I appreciate that. I appreciate you listening in. Send us a question if you get anything too.
I always want to, and I don't remember if you guys. I don't recall you guys ever giving a. I mean, I guess I could Google it and get the. But as far as you guys are always like, this is this person's goal. This is this person's goal. And it's like, when did they ever say send us your?
So what I used to, we used to do the goals ones. Like, this is the third year now we're doing them, and the last 2 years I've chased people, and this year I started announcing, like in November or early December. I said, "Hey, we're doing our goals, and we're doing the listener goals, so you better have them in. And if you gave us your 2021 goals, but you didn't give us the final ones, then that's on you. That's too bad. I'm not sending out emails and stuff." So, and we've recorded those episodes already. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, just kind of start listening right around November or so. We'll start. We start asking for your goals, and
I must have I must have missed out on that.
Yeah,
or mishearing it. But yeah, no, Jason, I don't have anything else.
We'll just do the two we ask everyone now. What is, if you could pick one thing that increased your sales the most or helped grow your career the most, what was it?
Right now, it's definitely the Amazon ads. It's the Dan Padavona Amazon.
Not Facebook, Amazon specifically.
Amazon specific. 100% on Amazon. The way I'm running the ads, I went. So before I started using it a couple weeks ago, I had 25 pre-orders on that first book of Shakedown, the first of the new thriller series. And almost every day I've averaged about 30 new pre-orders on that book in the last 2 weeks. And it's literally, you can line them up. It's once I started running those Amazon ads.
Okay.
And just doing all of that. So
what kind of ad and how many are you doing? Like a ton of ads, or do you have just a couple specific ones?
I'm just doing a single ad for the first book in the series, and I probably won't.
One ad. What kind of ad is it?
I'll tell you off. I'll read the thing for you.
Okay.
Because I don't want it. We don't want everybody doing it. You got thousands of listeners who are going to all do it, and then
Sure.
You're gonna kill my ad, but I'll let you guys know what I'm doing.
All
And
right.
it's the Dan way. If Dan wants to let everybody know and kill everything, he's probably going to kill me now for saying that I'm using this. But
is the series in select?
yeah, I always go. I go select. This one I'm going to do. So there's also another author, a thriller author, Wayne Stinnett, and he's on book like 23 of his series, and he follows this system. It's the same advertising system basically that Dan does, but he's a big fan of rapid release for the first 3 books,
Mhm.
and then to finish this, finish those other, like say 3 months later, 3 months later, 3 months later. And so I'm doing that, and he kind of gave me the formula of do 99-cent pre-order, and then go to the regular $2.99, and then after this certain book, go to $2.99 pre-order, and then a $3.99. So it's like all this. It's kind of a formula, but I always do, KDP. I always do Amazon exclusive on everything for at least the first 90 days, or until I see the and I keep it in until I see the page reads drop. Because as much as you want to go draft to digital and Kobo and all these other ones, you're not making anywhere near the money you're making on Amazon.
Interesting. Okay. Now, what have you done that absolutely did nothing for you?
Besides meeting you, Jason, I'm going to think.
That's fair.
No, that's fair.
It's actually been a negative.
I think for me it was the scatter shot of doing all those ads, Robin Reads and Free Booksy and all of those, the $25 here and $50 here, and just kind of randomly throwing them out there until I learned to layer them, to do 4 ads, 3 ads, 2 ads, 3, you know what I mean, and do different ones on the same day. And I also screwed up because I had a couple of book bubs you pay $1,000 for, but I didn't do any other advertising. And I really should have layered ads on top of that. And I think I would have done a lot better with them too. So again, it comes down to advertising.
Yeah. Well, that's great advice. Appreciate you coming on, buddy.
Thanks for having me on, even though Hunter Shea was on last week before I was. I mean, still, I won't hold that against you guys. That's good.
Well, it's because we wanted to get our feet wet, and we knew that Hunter would just be so drunk that it wouldn't really matter.
He would just be Hunter. Yeah.
There is nothing we could say that would be more embarrassing than all the things he would say. So that's the way to start.
Yeah.
You got it out. Yeah, you got it out of the way, and he said all of it. That's a good move.
Exactly. So where can people find you?
ArmandRosamilia.com. I'm very on Twitter, Armand Author, and I'm on Twitch live 3 days a week on Twitch. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will try to write a brand new short story every time live while people like Chad are in the chat room talking.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Anything else, Chad?
No, I was just going to tell Armand not to go anywhere just yet, and let us sign off and talk to you for a second, but. Thanks, dude, for coming on.
Hey, thanks for inviting me. This was fun. I love talking to you guys.
Yeah, me too, man.
What's
your?
I
appreciate you.
What Anthrax shirt are you wearing? Nice,
Not, man.
Nice.
All right, bye, everybody.
See ya.